Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively common Psychic-type Pokemon Espurr, the Restraint Pokémon, and its uncommon evolution Meowstic, the Constraint Pokémon. While they might look too cute and cuddly to be any serious threat to anyone, the members of the Espurr family do have surprising destructive potential within them that is otherwise locked away for the sake of safety.
Espurr have grayish-purple fur covering their body, with large curly wisps of fur springing outwards on multiple parts of their body, giving them an unkempt appearance. They have digitaless white-tipped hands and feet, rounded white-tipped ears, a small purple tail, a small nose and mouth, and large, deep purple eyes with violet sclera that constantly stare outwards, rarely blinking. The appearance of their evolved form, Meowstic, depends entirely on their gender. On the one hand, male Meowstic have dominantly blue-furred bodies with white tips to their hands, feet, and the rough scrap of fur around their neck, the rough crest of fur on their forehead, and both ends of their bulbous ears, with rings of white fur around their ears, hook-shaped tails, and emerald-green eyes with blue sclera. Female Meowstic, on the other hand, have dominantly white-furred bodies with blue tips to their hands, legs, and the base of their tail, the smooth wisp of fur around their neck, and the smooth whipped crest on their forehead, with fur around their torso like a dress, smooth bulbous tails, elongated pointy ears, and ruby-red eyes with yellow sclera. Espurr and Meowstic are closely related to house cats, as with Pokemon like Meowth, Skitty, Glameow, and Purloin, but they are unique in being the only one of these groups that is not only psychic-type in nature, but is also heavily controlled by sexual dimorphism in their fully evolved form. While sexual dimorphism is a common trait in many species of animals, in terms of Pokemon, Meowstic really take the cake without being two completely different types of Pokemon in the process.
For reasons that are still a bit of a mystery, when these creatures evolve, the powers that they gain upon evolving are completely dependent on their gender. This is so much so the case that most of the moves the two genders share are shared only because Espurr learned them naturally as well.
In the case of males, they primarily learn defensive and tactical moves, including Mean Look, Helping Hand, Charm, Imprison, Quick Guard, and Misty Terrain. Female Meowstic, on the other hand, tend to learn primarily offensive moves, with their exclusive moves being Charge Beam, Shadow Ball, Extrasensory, Future Sight, Stored Power, and Magical Leaf. The two genders possess the same base stats, showing that their base attack stat doesn't change with evolution, and are otherwise biologically identical, but these differences are nonetheless more than enough to radically change how these creatures react in battle. Moreover, the hidden abilities they possess are different between the two, as both they and Espurr both have keen eyesight that can help them spot opponents in any situation, and the capacity to use the suppressed psychic powers to bypass energy barriers, allowing them all to have Keen Eye and Infiltrator as base abilities, and Espurr can use their own powers to hypnotize themselves into a focused state of mind to give them own tempo as a hidden ability. Male Meowstic tend to be able to use their defensive moves to mess with opponents effectively enough to have Prankster as a hidden ability, while females tend to get more readily riled up by anyone that tries to use such moves to mess with their stats, possessing Competitive as a hidden ability. As far as the stats are concerned in the case of Meowstic, these felines really don't have a ton of power behind them because of the need to limit their psychic powers, resulting in them showing poor performance in serious battles, with only their base speed stat being above average for a fully evolved Psychic-type Pokemon. Even so, they can still get access to a lot of useful attacks and techniques as they develop between the two genders, so there is the chance for some use if you're willing to stick with them. In terms of stats alone, Espurr are fairly harmless and only get a limited selection of moves throughout their life, often not enough to make them a serious force in battle. What is not always apparent, however, is that these small beasts are in fact powerful psychics. They're able to utilize and focus psychic energy so efficiently that they can easily throw a wrestler far and decimate anything within a 300-foot radius of them when at full power. The problem with this is that they actually possess a separate organ in their bodies that is designed to act much like the second spinal cord in Mewtwo in concentrating and focusing psychic power, except that they cannot control the amount of psychic power that it releases, in turn meaning that Espurr cannot completely control their own powers at maximum. As a result, while their expression may remain blank most of the time, it only masks a horrific struggle inside of these creatures to hold back and restrict their psychic powers, making them much weaker offensively than they really are. Moreover, these creatures have taken to using their ears to cover their ear holes up because the psychic energy generated from a specialty organ inside of them is produced constantly, leaking out of their bodies and dealing devastating damage to the environment if it is not plugged up at all times.
The fact that Espurr personally restrict themselves from using their true power can make them difficult to train at first, but their cute charm and personality can nonetheless make them great companions for trainers looking to add a bit of decent Psychic-type power to their team.
Meowstic, in both good ways and bad, are notably more powerful than their pre-evolved form. For one thing, they are quick on their feet and can easily run around most opponents to deliver a preemptive strike before the opposition can even know what hit it. Much as with Espurr, Meowstic also possess a special organ near their ears that constantly pumps out psychic energy, forcing these creatures to keep their ears covered at all times to prevent it from leaking out and causing random havoc.
In particular, the energy tends to leak out of eyeball-shaped patches on the inside of their ears, granting their uncurled form a somewhat frightening appearance.
In most cases, these creatures will choose to constrain much of their power and will only attack with the force needed to win a battle, with males in particular only unleashing their full power when they themselves or those they care for are in danger as a defensive measure. If they are stressed, they will not be afraid to unleash all of their power at once, creating a devastating, crushing shockwave of psychic energy strong enough to reduce a 10-ton truck to dust. Sadly, they still cannot control this power, so its use in battle is almost non-existent. Even so, it should be prepared for at all times. Meowstic are wise about keeping their power chained, but desperate trainers looking to end a battle quickly may decide to channel this power, a move that should be countered immediately to prevent complete and irreparable damage to all life within several hundred feet of the blast source. It is lastly noted that the males in general tend to be more docile than females, and in turn easier to raise, protecting their nest and territory overall with great vigor in battle. Female Meowstic, on the other hand, tend to be more selfish and aggressive, and while this mean nature is said to be part of their charm, they are still more likely to torment others with their psychic powers if they don't get what they want, and can thus be a bit of a handful to raise and deal with.
I've always been a lover of cats for as long as I can remember in this world, but I have to admit that as adorable as these felines can be, I kind of still prefer to not go near them, and for an obvious good reason. Type assignments aside, these little critters can be quite cute and adorable and fun to play with, but for me there's always that nagging, lingering thought that they could just obliterate everything around them if their control over their power slipped too much. Compared to a lot of other feline Pokemon though, it is true that Meowstic are still mostly alright to interact with, and are not always incredibly cruel or otherwise difficult to handle, so they can make for good pets if raised properly. Plus, there is quite a bit of fun present to figuring out whether one wants a male or female, since the moves they learn naturally differ noticeably as a consequence of their present sexual dimorphism, even if they are still counted as the same type of Pokemon. They can definitely help out in a pinch, but if you really want to stay safe, don't get too friendly with them. A scratch on the back of the ear might seem totally harmless, but it often can be anything but if you lift them open for even just a little bit.
Despite not exactly being among the strongest of Pokemon of their type, the members of the Espurr family are still adorable cats that can be easy to raise and take care of so long as you keep a close eye on them. You might have to make a decision on how to make the most of them on your team and in turn what gender you want long before they are ready for evolution, but the result can still pay off if you're just looking to use them for friendly fights with friends.
Just do yourself a favor and never let the extreme power they could potentially wield be too tempting of a factor to let go entirely. The initial result might be quite spectacular, but just like a Machoke or Machamp without their power save belt, you might not have much of a way to get them back under control once these cats have really been let out of the bag.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Utitus, and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.